Young people have been disproportionately impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. We know that this had a huge impact on their financial well-being. When you look at the number of young people who work in the hospitality, in the retail, and just generally in insecure work, of course, a lot of young people would have been placed on furlough, lost their jobs, or having to sort of claim benefits from welfare. We also know that this has a huge impact on their mental health because, of course, if you're a young person who's just come out of your education and looking forward to developing your future career, a lot of your plans would have been halted. So we know again that this would have had a huge impact on young people's mental health for a number of different reasons. A huge impact on their education if you're in school, in college or in university, trying to take your exams and go about learning. Again, a lot of your studies will have been impacted by that. And this is just a couple of issues that I've mentioned. There are so many issues and ways that young people have been impacted by COVID-19. As a councillor for Stoke Newington and as the CEO for My Life, My Say, I want to make sure that I'm supporting young people, and I have been supporting young people during the pandemic by amplifying and giving them a voice, making sure that they have a voice in rebuilding Britain and making sure that they can shape their community. Because the one thing we know about the COVID-19 pandemic is it's exposed a lot of inequalities and amplified them. And it's really important that whilst we're rebuilding our communities, that young people have a voice in shaping that. So my role has been specifically around making sure that decision makers are listening to young people's voices in this next phase of recovery. COVID-19 undoubtedly is having a huge impact on the Brexit negotiations. It was already a big task, and to negotiate a whole future trade deal within 10 or 11 months since the last general election. But of course, given the fact that most of the government resources are now focused on COVID-19, and rightly so it should be, to negotiate such an important trade deal with our biggest partner, I don't think was the right time, and I think we should have pushed it back to give us enough time to make sure that we come up with a deal that works not only for Britain but also for EU too, because it is such an important partner and it impacts us in our day-to-day lives. I think that international leaders can do so much more to engage with young people during this next phase of the COVID-19 recovery plan. I think, we need to rethink what type of society we live in. And I think, young people have, interesting ideas. We see how we've responded by supporting so many people through using, online means or, taking food to and volunteering in their own communities. And I think, young people have a vital role to play in helping shape that. So I would like to see international leaders to listen to young people as one of the key stakeholders when rebuilding our society. The future for younger generations in the UK is quite bleak. We know that, of course, Brexit will have a huge impact on our generation and on future generations. We also know that, of course, COVID-19 will be the same. It will have a huge impact on our future, particularly when you look at our financial income and our financial well-being. And for me, the biggest concern is I don't think that right now we have the leaders who will be putting young people first, or who will be thinking about young people in the future. So my concern is that both these huge events, events that you don't come across or probably come across, once in a generation, have come at the same time. And, my concern is that a lot of young people will be let down in the future. But having said that, I do have optimism. I think a lot of more young people are stepping up to stand up for themselves. When you look at the youth climate strikes, for example, I think young people are showing that they are capable of actually standing up for their futures. So, from a young person's perspective, I'm quite optimistic, but I'm pessimistic from the perspective of the leaders that we have, and whether they have the capability and the capacity to be able to respond to some of the biggest challenges that we face.